CaliberRM is a software requirements management tool that comes with an SDK that allows developers to write custom applications that work with the CaliberRM server. I'm going to go through an example of how you can use the Caliber SDK to write a custom application that will create a new Caliber requirement for you. So I have Eclipse open down here, and I'm going to create a new Java project. I'm going to call that project Create Requirement, Create Rec, and all the defaults are okay, so I can click Finish. I'm going to be using the Caliber 2008 SDK, so I need to add that to the build paths. I can go ahead and right-click on the project name, go to Build Path, go to Configure Build Path, and add external jars. I've installed the Caliber client on this machine, and along with the client, the SDK is installed as well. And the SDK can be found in C:program files Borland CaliberRM SDK 2008 lib. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these jars and click Open and click OK. So now that I have my build path configured, I can go ahead and create the class that I'm going to need. I'm going to right click on the project name, go to New Class, and I'm going to call this class Create Rec, and I'm going to add a main method to this class and click Finish. Now I'm going to zoom in on this method here, and the first thing I need to do is add the import set I need. So I'm going to have two imports, import com.starbase.caliber.star and import com.starbase.caliber.server.star. And I can go ahead and start coding now. So I said this is going to create a new requirement, so I'm going to go ahead and create my requirement first. And the constructor for the requirement takes in 5 parameters. The first is a name, the second is a project, the third is a type, the fourth is an index, and the fifth is a session. So now I need to create each one of those arguments that are going into the constructor for the requirement. The name is easy, that's just a string, and I'm going to call that new requirement. The next thing I need is a project, and the project comes from the Caliber server, so I need to log into the Caliber server in order to get the project. So I need a Caliber server. I'm going to call it server, and the constructor for the Caliber server has one argument, and that's the name of the machine where the Caliber server is at. So in our case it's vm sdoa stclbr-2.done.sg.msft. Next thing I need to do is actually log into that server and start a new session. So I'm going to create a new session, and I'm going to use the server's login method, and that takes 2 arguments, the user ID, which is the default admin, and the password, which is also the default admin. So now that I've logged into my server, I can actually get the list of projects from the server. So I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to use the sessions get projects method. And I know ahead of time that I need the 9th project, so I can go ahead and plug that in there. So now that I have my project, the next thing that I need is a requirement type. And the way Caliber works with requirement types are the project has baselines and the baselines have types. So at this point I need a baseline. So I'm going to go ahead and instantiate a new baseline and use the project's get current baseline method. So now that I have my baseline, I need a requirement type, and I'm going to instantiate the requirement type, call it type, and use the baseline's get requirement types method, and I'm just going to grab the first one from that array. And the final thing that I need is the index, which is just an int. So I'm going to make a new int index, and I'll just set that to 0. So we can see some compilation errors here because these different methods throw exceptions. I'm going to go ahead and right click on that, go to quick fix, and add a throws declaration. So now I have just about everything I need, but after I instantiated that requirement, I need to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and call the requirements save method. And that's all there is to it. So that program there will create a new requirement. I saved it, it should build it, and now when I run it, it will take a second to run. It's going to log into the server and create that requirement for me. And now when I go to Caliber and do a refresh, I can see that it created that requirement for me. So there's the new requirement. And that's just one example of what you can do with the Caliber SDK.